Hey YouTube, it is fall, and once I'm done with all the garden harvesting and canning, I move to soup. So before holidays and after gardening is when I can all of our soups, and I can all of our soups. I'll put a list in the description of all the things we can. I try to leave myself fresh vegetables that I did not can to put in stew. Today I'm doing beef stew. I will always freeze and so these are all frozen. Got frozen green beans. We've got a big pack of frozen corn. We've got a smaller pack of frozen peas. I have fresh potatoes and fresh carrots that I did buy because we had a sadly no garden this year. We usually grow all of this stuff, and this year we just did not. So I'm going to start the stew, and we have beef and venison, and I'm going to have to make 2 different pots of stew, and I will explain to you why here shortly. I'm probably going to can this stuff tomorrow, make the stew today, and then I'll come back and we'll do part 2 will be same video, but it'll be tomorrow. You're going to need wide mouth pints is what I use for soup, mostly because it's just easier. My husband likes to take these for lunch, and he can heat this right up at work and just eat it right out of the jar. Narrow mouth is a little bit harder. You're going to need the non-reusable caps to go on the jar, and you're going to need the reusable rings to go on the jar, and a canning pot, which I don't have, but I will be pressure canning these. You're going to need a funnel to fill the jars, a jar lifter, which we always use, and the handy dandy little magnet, which you use to lift these out of the warm water. And I'll show you a little trick about this later so you can save yourself burnt fingers. I am not going to probably share the recipe that I use because beef stew is it's just beef. I brown the beef, which I already did. And here's where I'll just tell you what I did wrong. Here's why we're making 2 kinds of stew today. If you're canning beef stew, if you're making it just like, let's make stew tonight, you would brown the beef before you make the stew. I always brown the beef with flour. You dredge it in some flour and salt and pepper and then brown it. And then put that in as the base for your stew. The problem with canning stew is you do not want to can anything ever that has any flour, like I just did. So you would not brown the beef in flour and then make stew and then can that stew. So if you're canning beef stew, go and brown the beef just in oil. And I forgot that little step. So I have beef that is already browned in flour, and I have actually venison that I did not in flour. So we are actually making venison stew, and I'm going to start a second pot with the beef stew, and I'll freeze the beef stew, and we'll we're going to be canning the venison stew. So maybe title might be different than it looked like. We'll see. And if you were here for a short I did a while ago on how to make beef stock out of leftover beef roast, which I'll link it up here maybe. This is the stock that I got from that prime rib roast. This made almost 4 cups of stock. And I don't get fancy with defrosting things. I just take it right out of the freezer, and it's going right in the pot, and we'll just turn the pot on and get that defrosting right in the pot. And then we're going to also end up adding, I have some water here, so we are going to probably end up using regular beef bouillon as well to add to this to make enough stock. We'll see. I start with 4 cups of stock, add what I'm going to add, and it's layers of whatever looks good when I make stew. So we're using all of these vegetables, and my stews are always just salt, pepper, garlic, onion, and I'll probably add freeze-dried onion to the mix, garlic powder, salt and pepper, and some thyme out of the garden, and that's all I add. The only thing I do see that I see people doing differently for canned beef stew is where they just take all the fresh things and stack them in a jar and pour broth over it and then can it that way. Let me know if you've ever done that. I'd be interested to see what does it taste like when you pour it out. I like to make the stew as if we're having it for dinner tonight. Taste it, adjust it. It's all perfect on the stove, and then I put it in the jars and can it. So it comes out the texture of, if you love like thinking more beef stew from the grocery store, the canned stew. If you like your stew to be that texture and consistency, that's basically how this will turn out. I've never tried the one where you just throw raw veg in a jar and like layer it. It looks like, where you can do those layered salad in a jar, but it's soup in a jar, but then they can it that way. So chime in if you've done that. I'd be interested to hear how that works for you. Maybe I'll try that next time. But I'm going to get started putting things in the pot. There's not much to really see here, so I'll just show you as we go along and kind of show you how it builds up. and then we'll get closer to the canning and work through the instructions on how to get this canned and on the shelf for winter lunches. All right, so I've got beef stew going over here. So this is beef stew, this is venison stew, and we're going to use identical everything else. So for my potatoes, I don't peel them. I just use red potatoes and cut them. Again, a lot of this is just going to be personal preference for whatever kind of stew you like to make. But I like to cut them into fairly good sized pieces for the potatoes, just so they're similar to the size of the stew meat that you're putting in. And so this is a lot about the meat and potatoes. So we've got the preliminary bunch of vegetables in with the meat and some of the beef stock, and I just stirred around, and what I want to see is sort of, it's a lot of just eyeball it. I want it to look right as far as the balance of the mix. And that mix for me is looking pretty good. So I may add some more broth to this so that it's a little bit more frothy, and then we'll let it simmer for quite a while because we want these potatoes and carrots to be tender. And then I will, towards the end, is when I will start adding some salt and crack some fresh pepper in here and throw in some freeze-dried onion and some garlic powder and thyme. And then it just needs to simmer until it's all good enough to eat. So I just added 4 more cups of stock to that, so it looks about right. And I'm going to bring this up to a boil and let it just simmer for a long time, and I'll be back to see how it looks. All right, these have been cooking for a couple of hours. I got it up to a boil, and then they're both simmering, and I've just added some freeze-dried onions to both and some cracks of black pepper. It is just to taste. So this is just whatever you think works for you and your family. This is just thyme from the garden that I'm adding, and I like a good handful of it. And it's got stemmy things in it, so that's gonna go right in. I just break it up, and as it cooks, I'll pick out pieces that look like they're too big. I don't like them to be, stemmy, so I'll leave some of that out. And we're just gonna stir that in. And like we talked about, I'm gonna can this one. This has got venison. This one has the beef that was dredged in flour. So we're having that for dinner tonight, and we're gonna freeze the rest. And then this one we will be canning tomorrow. So the difference with this, if you're not dredging them in flour, you're going to see that they're going in the jar looking a little bit less thick, but it's gonna be fine. And once they pressure can and cook, you're gonna find that it's gonna be plenty thick. So the last thing I need to add to this, and it's what I do at the end, really, really at the end, is add salt, because the last thing you want to do is over salt a soup. There are ways to fix it. There are kitchen hacks and things, but I don't like to salt it until right close to the end. So and this also was made with the beef stock I made from that prime rib, which was a very salt crusted roast. So you really don't want to salt this too much to start with. I'm just going to give it a quick taste. That one's plenty salty, so I'm not adding salt to that one. And the beef one definitely could use some salt, so I am going to just throw in, and everything's eyeball, but this is probably a tablespoon plus of salt going in right now. We're just going to give that a stir, and we're going to let these continue to simmer really until dinner time. It's almost 4 o'clock now. I'm just going to leave these on the stove for another couple of hours with lids on, and we'll taste them towards the end and adjust the flavoring. And then this one is going to sit, I'll put the lid on it and just let it cool down tonight and put it in the refrigerator overnight. And tomorrow we're going to warm it back up and get it in canning jars. It's just a little too late tonight to sit in front of a canning pot. So this is the next morning. This simmered all day yesterday. This is the venison stew. We're going to can this into some pint jars, but it looks lovely. The beef stew just went in the freezer, and this looks perfect. The seasoning is perfect, and it did not need any salt because I used the broth I made from that very salty prime rib. So that is what we're going to do next. If you could smell how good this smells, oh my goodness. So this is ready to go in the jars, and the jars I like to use for soup. I know in the beginning I showed you a wide mouth pint. This is actually my favorite. It's short. It's a short pint that's wide mouth, and I love these because you can easily just eat out of this like you're having lunch. So before we get to putting this stuff in jars, I will show you my trick to do with the little magnet. The canning lids come in a box and they're stacked like that, and you're going to use this to get them out of the warm water that I use to soften up this sealing compound. If you do this, you're picking up 2. If these are in water and you try and get them apart like that, you're going to get a little burst of hot water and it burns your finger. So the trick I've learned over 32 years of canning is to put these in the hot water, alternating one side up and one side down, so that they aren't going to sort of vacuum seal together in the water. And then when you go to grab one, you're getting 1 or 2, but they're easy to get apart, and you're not going to get that little vacuum burst of hot water on your fingers. So those are going to go back in the water, and I am guessing, let me alternate these real quick. I'm guessing what I have here, I'm going to guess this is probably going to be 6 to 8 jars. I bet it'll probably be more like 6. So, but I always have a few extra jars and a few extra lids ready to go just in case I have more than a guest. And this is where your little canning funnel comes in. And sorry, there is a kitten here and she probably will make noise the whole time. Measuring tape is the other thing you will need during this part of the process, because you're going to want a 1-inch headspace between the top of the jar and the top of the stew. And I've never in 32 years of canning been able to judge a 1-inch and get it right. And especially with stew, if you get it wrong and you have too much in here, especially if you fill it too much during the canning process and the pressure canning especially, you're going to force that liquid up out under the rim of the jar, and then you're going to have food particles along this under that seal, and that lid will not seal down, and then you've just wasted your time, and this will not be canned sealed tight when it comes out of the canning pot. So make sure that you get 1 inch on every single jar. Measure it with a measuring tape. I measure it every time. I just made a habit out of it. The other thing you're going to need, especially anytime you're canning anything that has to do with meat or anything that could be oily, paper towel and just plain vinegar. And you're going to dampen a paper towel with vinegar. And when you put the soup in the jar, once it's in and you've measured the headspace, you want to take this all the way around that rim and get it really, really clean before you put the caps on, just to make sure this is definitely very clean and there's no food on it. The other thing you want to check on the jars before you get them ready to can with, if you use them a lot like I do, check the rim and just make sure there's no nicks or dings at all on this edge, because otherwise you won't get a seal and you will have wasted a lot of time. These take 90 minutes in the canning pot. You do not want to waste this kind of time and have the seals not work. So once the soup is hot, you don't have to have it boiling going in. You need the jars clean and hot, not, scorching hot, but they're hot from being cleaned. Sterilized, you can run them through the dishwasher and just get them out right out of the dishwasher. And I just start filling and kind of try and get an even mix of what you would want to see in your jar of stew. And fill it until you think you are about to 1 inch headspace. And I kind of know on these particular little jars that somewhere right around that neck is about 1 inch. So let me get my handy dandy measuring tape. And I just literally take it, and I usually put the 2 inch there so you can see the 1, and that is right at 1 inch. So we know that, let's see if I can get it up to the camera, is a 1 inch headspace, just right there. So that one's done. I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of these, and then we'll put caps on them and get them in the canning pot. So these are all 1 inch headspace, and we're going to go ahead and wipe the rims with the vinegar on the paper towel. And just counting these, I did get 8 jars. So my original estimate was right, and we got 8. And since this pot holds a nice 7, I will show you a little trick. When you're in a canning pot, you can actually stack these when these aren't that tall. Fortunately, these are not full-size pints. You can stack another layer in there, which we will do. Fortunately, I have an old rack from a prior canning pot. So I'm just going to set that in there right on top of those jars carefully. And then jar number 8 can sit right there by itself, and it's going to be just fine. So the jars are all in there, and this is my pressure canning pot lid. You put these on and it just goes down and it gives a little twist to lock. And it's missing a handle over here, which I will not explain to you why that is the way that is, but it's kind of a long story. And we are going to turn the temp all the way up and get this boiling. And this little vent I will show you. We want to see this vent be a steady stream of steam coming out of that vent. Once we see that, a steady jet of steam coming out of there, we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. And then once it has gone for 10 minutes, we will put this little rocker thing on, and that's going to sit on there. And then we're going to watch the pressure go right up to here. I'm going to take that back off, but we're going to watch that go right up to there where I've put a little Sharpie mark at 12 because I can at 12 pounds of pressure here because of my altitude. And once that hits 12 pounds, we're gonna kind of regulate the heat as it approaches 12 pounds so that it doesn't shoot past that 12-pound pressure. And then you want to hold it at whatever the pounds are appropriate for your altitude, minus 12. Once I get it to 12, I'm going to hold it at 12, no lower than 12, for 90 minutes, which means I'm going to be pulling up a chair and working on a cross stitch or reading a book or something, but I sit here for the whole time and watch that gauge for the whole processing time. The main thing is you don't want to go too high because you can cause a lot of problems, and you don't want to drop too low. If you do and you drop under your processing pressure, you're going to you need to reset the timer and restart the pressure timing all over again. So don't let it drop too low. I'm going to grab a chair and we're going to wait for that to vent, and then I'm going to sit here for an hour and a half. This has been 90 minutes at 12 pounds of pressure. I just turned off the heat underneath the pot. This is very hot, but we're going to wait until that dial gauge goes all the way down to 0, and then I can remove the weight, and this little thing will drop, and that will show that the pressure is off on this lid, and we can loosen the lid. I won't take it off. I'll let it come all the way down to 0 pressure, and then I'll crack the lid and just let some of the steam escape even a little longer, and some of that extra heat. I'll crack the lid for 5 to 10 minutes and let it settle, and then we'll take the jars out. So I just took the lid off, and you can see, if you look down in there, you can see that soup is still boiling pretty hard in the jar. So I'm going to leave the lid on for probably 10 minutes just to let that settle down a little, but you can see that jar's fine on that little second layer. And we're going to come back and check this in a little bit when that has settled down a bit. All right, these look really good, and they're already starting to pop. I've already heard several of them pop down that they're sealing. You can hear that. That's the sound of jars sealing. It's the most satisfying sound a canner will ever hear. What I also like to check is the water. You can see that the water in this pot is really clear, which means no food leaked out into the water. So take your jar lifter, and you don't want to disturb these. These caps and lids are all still very hot, and they aren't sealed yet until they're cooled all the way off. So I like to bring these out carefully. Don't bump the lid or the cap, and just carefully pull them up. Just grab them by the neck of the jar. And look at how nice that looks. That is such a delicious meal for a quick dinner or a quick lunch during the winter. So we're going to bring these over here and just carefully set them, and just don't disturb those rings. Hear them? They're still sealing. This is good. So I'm going to carefully grab another one. Same thing, just pull them straight up, and they've stopped. You can see the activity in the jar has stopped, like they're not, rolling boil in the jar itself. And I just carefully, and I don't want to disturb them at all until they're all overnight, until tomorrow. And then I will come back tomorrow and label these with today's date and what they are. And then these make a wonderful soup. Just for a quick meal instead of, why shop the middle of the store? If if you have the time and you're growing the food, you might as well make soup. So satisfying and so good for you. This is all such healthy food. So I hope this inspires you to try your hand at canning your own soups. It's time consuming, but if you know how to pressure can at all, this is not hard to do, and the results are so worth it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.